Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we cut through all the noise, pull out those key bits of insight from a whole bunch of sources, and hopefully give you that aha moment that gets you quickly up to speed.
That's the plan.
Today, we're sliding onto the ice, metaphorically speaking, to explore a sport that, well, it looks pretty straightforward, but it has this nickname that just screams strategy: chess on ice.
Indeed. We're diving into curling,
Right.
a game where, that slow slide of a heavy stone can actually be packed with tactical thinking.
Right. You've probably seen it maybe during the Winter Olympics, people flighting these big granite stones, others sweeping like mad in front of them. It seems simple enough. But that nickname, chess on ice, it really makes you think, okay, what's actually happening there? What's the deeper game?
It's definitely more complex than it looks at first glance. So our mission today is really to unpack this fascinating sport. We'll look at everything from its surprisingly old roots right through to the complex strategies involved and maybe figure out why it hooks so many people.
Yeah, why people get so passionate about it.
Exactly. By the end, you should feel like you've got a really solid handle on curling.
All right, let's do it. So for someone whose mental image is basically just, a rock and a broom on some ice, what is curling fundamentally?
At its absolute core, curling is a precision sport. You have two teams, and they take turns sliding these heavy, polished granite stones down a sheet of ice.
Okay.
And they're aiming for a target area, like a bullseye, made of concentric circles. You'd maybe think of it like bowls or boules, even shuffleboard in some ways, but, on ice, which adds that whole layer of unpredictability.
And it's old, like really old, right? Not some modern invention.
Oh, incredibly old. There's evidence of curling going way back to the early 16th century in Scotland. Seriously, they found a curling stone in a pond they drained, and it had the year 1511 carved into it.
Wow. 1511.
Yeah. So imagine people were sliding these things on frozen locks, frozen rivers, hundreds of years ago.
That probably explains the nickname it apparently had early on, the roaring game. Where'd that come from?
Ah, that's a great little detail. It apparently comes from the sound the stones make. That sort of rumbling, roaring sound as they travel over the textured ice.
Huh.
And it wasn't just casual play either. Organized clubs started popping up quite early. There's the Kilsyth Curling Club, set up back in 1716. They claim to be the world's first.
1716.
And then the Royal Caledonian Curling Club, founded in 1838. They were really important because they developed the first official rule book, sort of formalized the whole thing.
It's always interesting how games go from just, playing around to having actual rules and structure. Okay, so the playing surface, the sheet, they call it. It sounds like it needs to be super precise, not just any old ice rink.
Oh, definitely not.
Oh.
The curling sheet is meticulously prepared. It's this long rectangle of ice, maybe around 150 feet long and about 15 feet wide-ish.
So pretty long and narrow.
Exactly. And it has very specific markings. You've got the house, which is that big target area with the rings. The very center is called the button. Then you have the hogline stones, have to cross the first one completely and be released before the second one to stay in play. And the hacks are where players push off from, like starting blocks.
Okay, and you mentioned textured ice before. That's the pebble, right? I hear that's absolutely key.
Critical. Yeah, pebble is basically tiny droplets of water sprayed onto the frozen surface, which then freeze into these little bumps.
Okay.
It seems counterintuitive maybe, but this texture actually reduces friction overall. It allows the stone to glide much further, and crucially, it allows it to curl to take that curved path. Without pebble, the stone would just grind to a halt much faster and wouldn't really curve predictably.
Oh, I see.
And yeah, the ice temperature is kept really precise, usually around 23 Fahrenheit, -5 Celsius, the ice maker.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're one of the unsung heroes of any curling event. Their skill makes a huge difference to how the game plays.
Right, the surface is almost like another player in the game. Okay, let's talk about the main piece of equipment then. The stone itself, the rock.
Yeah, the curling stone, or rock as you hear a lot, especially in North America. It's quite something. A solid piece of incredibly dense granite, weighs about 40 pounds, give or take.
40 pounds, okay.
And the really fascinating insight here is the granite itself. The best stuff comes from only a couple of specific quarries in the world. Ailsa Craig, this tiny island off Scotland, is the most famous, and another one is Treffer in Wales.
Why those specific places?
It's about the granite's properties. The blue hone type from Ailsa Craig, for example, it absorbs almost no water. That's vital because it means the stone doesn't change as it interacts with the ice. It stays consistent, which is essential for that precision. Caves of Scotland has the exclusive rights to Ailsa Craig granite. They've made the Olympic stones for ages.
That's incredible. Okay, what about the brooms? They're probably the most visible thing to a casual viewer, but they're not just for, like, tidying up, right?
No, definitely not just for tidying. The broom, or more accurately now the brush, has two main jobs. Yes, it's used for sweeping the ice vigorously right in front of a moving stone. We'll get into why in a sec. But it's also really important as a balance aid when the player delivers the stone.
Okay.
And yeah, they've changed a lot.
Yeah.
Used to be actual corn brooms, way back. Now it's mostly high-tech carbon fiber shafts with special fabric heads. There was even this big controversy, Broomgate, around 2014.
Broomgate. Seriously.
Yeah. New types of brush heads came out with directional fabric that some felt gave sweepers too much control over the stone. It caused a bit of an uproar, actually. So now the brush heads are standardized to make sure it's about the athlete's skill, not just having the fanciest tech.
Wow, the drama. Even in curling. And the shoes are special too, I gather.
They are, yeah. Very specific. Curlers wear shoes where one sole is super slippery, the slider, often made of Teflon or something similar, allows them to glide smoothly out of the hack. The other sole is the gripper, provides traction for pushing off and walking on the ice. That combination is key for the balance and controlled slide needed for delivery.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got the place, the gear. Let's get into the actual game flow. How do you play? How do you score?
All right, so a standard curling team has 4 players. Each player throws 2 stones in each end. Think of an end like an inning in baseball or a frame in bowling.
Okay, 4 players, 2 stones each, 8 stones per team per end.
Exactly. And they alternate throws with their opponent. So one player from Team A throws, and one from Team B, then A again, and so on. Mixed doubles is a bit different. 2 players per team, 5 stones each, and they actually start each end with 2 stones already placed on the ice in set positions. Makes for a quicker, sometimes more aggressive game.
Right, so the end is over when all the stones are thrown. Then what? How do points work?
Precisely. Once all 16 stones in traditional, or 10 in mixed doubles, are delivered, the end is done, and you figure out the score. Points are awarded based on which team has stones closer to the button, that absolute center of the target rings, the house. Only stones that are in the house or touching the house can score. And here's the key part. Only one team can score per end. You look at the stone closest to the button overall. If it's, say, Team A's stone, then you count how many other Team A stones are also closer to the button than Team B's closest stone.
Okay. So if Team A has 3 stones closer than Team B's best one, Team A scores 3 points.
You got it. And if a stone is just barely nicking the outside wing, they sometimes call it a biter. Still counts.
Gotcha. Now, the hammer. You hear that term constantly. What makes having the hammer so important?
The hammer is huge. It simply means you have the right to throw the very last stone at the end. It's a massive tactical advantage.
How do they decide who gets it first?
Usually a coin toss or something called a draw to the button before the game starts, where each team throws a stone and whoever is closest gets the hammer for the first end. In tournaments, it might be based on seeding or previous records, but the really interesting part is how it changes hands during the game.
Okay.
The team that scores in an end loses the hammer for the next end. The team that didn't score gets it. This creates all sorts of strategic decisions.
Like trying not to score sometimes? That seems weird.
Exactly. That leads to the idea of a blanked end.
Okay, explain that. Blanking an end.
So imagine you have the hammer, but the end develops in a way where you can probably only score 1 point. 1 point is okay, but maybe not ideal if you think you can set up for more later.
Right.
So instead of taking that single point, the team with the hammer might deliberately make their last shot a hit that clears out all stones from the house, including their own potential scoring stone.
So nobody scores.
Correct. No score in that end. And because they didn't score, the team that had the hammer keeps it for the next end. It's a strategic choice. Sacrifice 1 point now to keep the last rock advantage, hoping to score 2 or more points in the next end. It's a gamble, but a common high-level tactic.
Fascinating. Risking nothing for a potentially bigger reward later and winning the whole game. Is it just most points after a set number of ends? And what's this about conceding?
Yep. Usually it's played over 8 or 10 ends. Team with the most points at the end wins. Simple as that.
Yeah.
But conceding is a really interesting part of curling culture. It's quite unique. If a team gets way behind and they feel there's really no realistic way to come back and win,
They just quit.
well, they concede, yeah. They'll traditionally walk over, shake hands with the opponents, and say, "Good curling," or something similar. It's not seen as quitting in a negative way, but more as an act of sportsmanship. Acknowledging the other team played better that day It's considered honorable.
That ties into something I wanted to ask about, the spirit of curling. It seems like fair play and respect are genuinely built into the game's DNA.
Oh, massively so.
Yeah.
It's not just a suggestion, it's fundamental. The spirit of curling emphasizes sportsmanship above almost everything else.
Like, what specifically?
Well, you're genuinely expected not to cheer when your opponent makes a mistake. You acknowledge good shots, whether they're yours or theirs, but modestly. And maybe the most striking thing, players are expected to call fouls on themselves.
Really?
Absolutely. If you accidentally touch a moving stone with your broom or your body, they call it burning a stone, you're supposed to immediately declare it yourself. That stone is then removed from play. No waiting for an umpire. And traditionally, after the game, the winning team buys the losing team a drink. It fosters this incredible atmosphere of respect.
Man, imagine that in other pro sports. Calling your own fouls. So with that spirit in mind, let's dig into the team structure and how that deeper strategy, the chess part, actually plays out. You said 4 players.
Right. In traditional curling, you have the lead, who throws the first 2 stones for the team each end. Usually focuses on setting things up, like placing guards. Then the second, throwing stones 3 and 4. Often plays more hits or has position stones.
Okay.
Then the third, stones 5 and 6. The third often acts as the vice skip or mate. They take over strategic duties in the house, holding the broom as a target while the skip is throwing their stones.
And the skip, that's the captain, right?
Exactly. The skip is the team leader, the main strategist. They typically stand in the house, deciding the shots, calling the line and weight, and they usually throw the last 2 stones of the end, often the most crucial ones, especially if they have the hammer. But here's the thing. All 4 players are involved in every single shot, either delivering it or sweeping it. Teamwork is everything.
Okay, the delivery itself. It looks smooth but complex. Getting it down the ice with the right speed and that curve.
It really is a blend of finesse and control. You start in the hack, push off, slide out low to the ice, and as you release the stone, you impart the weight, that's the velocity, and also a gentle turn or rotation on the handle. That turn is what makes it curl. Plus, you have to aim it down the correct line or path.
And they can tell if you let go too late.
In major competitions, yeah. There's a sensor in the handle, the eye on the hog system. If you haven't released the stone before it fully crosses the near hog line, a light flashes and the stone is pulled. It enforces that rule precisely. Shows how much precision matters.
Wow. Okay, then the sweepers jump in. This is maybe the most iconic curling action. What's the actual science or, the art behind that frantic sweeping?
Yeah, it looks frantic, but it's incredibly skilled. The 2 sweepers follow the stone down the ice, directed by the skip who's watching the stone's path, by sweeping hard right in front of the stone.
They're warming the ice.
Exactly. They're creating a microscopic layer of water through friction, just for a fraction of a second. This reduces the friction between the stone and the ice pebble.
And that makes...
Go further. Sweeping helps the stone travel straighter and longer than it would otherwise. So if the skip thinks a stone is light, not thrown hard enough, or curling too much, they'll yell for the sweepers to sweep hard to keep it going and hold the line.
So there's constant communication.
Constant. Shouting instructions about line, about weight, judging how the stone is reacting to the ice second by second. It's intense communication and judgment. And there are rules, too. Like only 1 person per team can sweep behind the tee line, the line through the center of the house.
It really is like a team ballet, almost. Okay, let's talk types of shots. What are the main plays in the curler's playbook?
Well, you could broadly categorize them. First, you have draws. These are maybe the most fundamental shots. They're all about precision, trying to land the stone exactly where you want it, usually in the house to score, or maybe just in front to act as a guard. Very versatile.
Okay, draws for placement. Then guards, you mentioned those. They're not for scoring directly.
Correct. Guards are thrown intentionally short of the house into that zone between the hog line and the house. They seem defensive, but often they're actually quite aggressive.
How so?
Because they act like blockers. You place a guard, and then you can try to hide your scoring stones behind it, making it much harder for your opponent to remove them. Both teams use guards, and they're a big reason ends can get complicated and high scoring. It's all about controlling that space in front.
Right, protecting your potential points. And the opposite of draws and guards would be?
Hits or takeouts. Pretty self-explanatory. These are thrown with more weight, more speed, with the aim of knocking an opponent's stone out of play. Purely defensive, usually.
Just clear the deck.
Yeah. And a specific type of hit is called peeling guards. That's when you hit an opponent's guard stone in such a way that you remove it, and often your own shooting stone rolls out of play too. It's a way to prevent your opponent from building up that protective wall in front of the house.
Okay, draws, guards, hits. This is where the chess on ice idea really starts to click, doesn't it? How do teams weave these together into a game plan?
Yeah, the strategy is constantly shifting. It depends heavily on the score, whether you have the hammer, even how the ice is behaving in that particular game.
Hmm.
Sometimes it curls more, sometimes less.
So you adapt constantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you have a lead, especially with the hammer, you might play defensively. Lots of hits, keep the house clean, minimize the chances for your opponent to score big. But if you're behind, or you don't have the hammer, you need to play more aggressively.
More draws and guards.
Exactly. You try to get rocks into scoring position, put up guards to protect them, and hope you can force a mistake or steal some points. It's a constant calculation of risk versus reward.
And there's a rule that plays heavily into this guard strategy, right? The free guard zone.
Ah, yes. The FGZ. Hugely important for understanding modern curling strategy. This is a key insight, really. The free guard zone rule, right now it's the 5-rock rule, basically says you cannot remove an opponent's stone if it's sitting in the guard area between the hog line and the house until the 6th stone of the end is played.
So the first 5 stones, if they're guards, are safe from being hit out.
The opponent's guards are, yes. Your own team can still hit them, but the other team can't just blast them out of the way immediately. This rule came about in the 1990s, I think.
Why? What problem was it solving?
It was solving the problem of boring curling. Teams that got a lead would just hit out every single guard the other team tried to put up. It led to really low-scoring, predictable games. The FGZ forces teams to play around the guards, allowing more stones to stay in play, leading to more complex situations and, frankly, more exciting games.
So it deliberately encourages more offense, more stones in play.
Precisely. It makes it harder to just run away with a lead defensively. Now, there is a counter shot called the tick shot. It's very difficult, but the aim is to just lightly nudge an opponent's guard sideways, ideally out of a crucial guarding position, but without removing it from play entirely. That's still legal under the FGZ.
Wow, that sounds like surgical precision.
It is. And it brings us back to that hammer strategy and blanking ends. That decision is all tied up in this, can we score 2 or more because the FGZ allows us to build something? Or should we blank it and try again next end?
Right. Keeping the hammer might be worth more than 1 point if you think you can use the FGZ to set up a big score later.
Exactly. Whereas stealing point scoring when you don't have the hammer that's tough
Yeah.
usually means the team with the hammer made a mistake or the stealing team played exceptionally well to navigate around that last rock disadvantage. A steal feels like a big momentum shift.
It all paints a picture of a really layered strategic game. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. How widespread is curling? We know Scotland, obviously, but where else has it taken root?
It's surprisingly global now, mainly thanks to, Scottish immigrants taking it with them. Canada is arguably the heartland of curling today.
Really? More than Scotland?
In terms of participation and sheer passion, probably yes. The Royal Montreal Curling Club, founded way back in 1807, is actually the oldest active sports club of any kind in North America. But yeah, it's spread throughout Europe. The U.S. has a strong presence, and it's really grown in Asia. Places like South Korea, Japan, China are powers now, even popping up in South America to Oceania. It's got a real worldwide footprint.
And it's a big deal at the Winter Olympics now.
Oh, definitely. It's been a full medal sport since the 1998 Nagano Games.
Yeah.
Although, interestingly, they later went back and awarded medals for a demonstration event held way back at the first Winter Olympics in 1924.
No way.
Yeah. Canada, as you might expect, has done incredibly well historically at the Olympics. But beyond the Games, you have major annual events like the World Curling Championships that actually started as the Scotch Cup back in 1959. And within Canada, their national championships, the Brier for men and the Scotties Tournament of Hearts for women, are absolutely huge national events. Massive following.
Are there any players who really stand out, sort of legends of the game? Or moments where curling broke into mainstream culture?
For sure. You have historical figures like Ernie Richardson's team from Canada in the 50s and 60s who were dominant early on. More recently, the story of Sandra Schmirler is incredibly poignant. She skipped her Canadian team to the first ever women's Olympic gold in '98, became a national hero, but tragically passed away from cancer just a couple of years later, still revered.
Wow.
And yeah, curling pops up in culture sometimes. There's a Canadian movie, Men with Brooms, which is a comedy about a curling team. It's even featured in episodes of The Simpsons, usually, gently poking fun at it. But it shows it has that recognition.
It sounds like it's got a rich history and presence. And is the sport still evolving, becoming more accessible, maybe?
Definitely. A great example is wheelchair curling. It's a Paralympic sport, played with the same rules mostly, but players deliver the stone using a special stick, and there's no sweeping. It requires incredible precision and strategy, just in a different way.
That's fantastic.
And there are even things like floor curling, played without ice, often in schools or community centers using wheeled stones. It's all about finding ways to bring the core ideas of the game to more people. It really is a sport trying hard to be inclusive.
What an amazing deep dive. We've really gone from the frozen ponds of 16th century Scotland to the high-tech strategic battles on the Olympic stage today. It's clear how that simple idea, sliding a stone on ice, evolved into this fascinating mix of, well, physical skill, precision, and really deep tactical thinking. It absolutely earns that chess on ice name.
It really does. Every single shot matters. Every sweep, every quiet conversation between the skip and the sweepers about how the stone is running. It's all part of this intricate puzzle you're trying to solve, end after end. You're playing the stones, you're playing your opponent, and you're always, always playing the ice.
And maybe as you think about that intricate dance, that constant communication needed to master the conditions, think about the surface itself, that pebble on the ice, always changing, slightly subtly different from sheet to sheet, even end to end. It's like this invisible living opponent that even the best curlers have to constantly read and adapt to with every single throw. So what are those subtle, shifting, maybe invisible factors in your world, your work, your field that you constantly need to account for to achieve that kind of precision and success?
That's a great way to think about it. Applies to so much.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of curling. We'll catch you next time.